Is from Assembly Member Polanski, and it concerns COP29.
Thanks for your question. We're at a pivotal moment for our planet. The recent flash floods in Valencia are a further stark reminder that the impacts of climate change are no longer a distant threat. They're here, right now, affecting lives and neighbourhoods. With COP29 underway, the urgency to act has never been clearer, and the recent US election has underscored the importance of steadfast international cooperation on our efforts to tackle the climate crisis. We need to double down on our partnerships both at home and through our global city networks. We need to show everyone that what's good for the planet is good for people. It's heartening to see both the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero demonstrating at Baku that the UK is ready to lead the way in its green economy revolution. But they haven't just been talking the talk at global conferences, they've been walking the walk from the day they were elected to government. Ed Miliband scrapped the previous government's ban on onshore wind in his first 24 hours in the job. And the new government is now working on a net zero electricity grid by 2030 and the creation of GB Energy. I'll be working closely with this climate-ambitious government to support a genuine retrofit revolution. I want to see a significant portion of the GB Energy Local Power Plan and public sector decarbonisation scheme funding come to London. I'm hopeful this government will tighten national energy efficiency standards and allow local planning authorities to set even more ambitious local standards where appropriate. A multi-year funding settlement for London in the Comprehensive Spending Review next year would help us achieve our goals, and I want to see an overhaul of the previous government's aviation decarbonisation strategy to meet our climate change commitments. We're going to have a strong net zero investment pipeline of projects across London, and the Office for Retrofit we're establishing will be ideally placed to take forward a local settlement from the GB Energy Local Power Plan and the public sector decarbonisation scheme, ensuring funds go to where they're most needed. This is a unique opportunity to demonstrate what can be achieved when national government joins cities as climate leaders.
Thank you. There is an urgency to act, and you're right, we absolutely do need to double down. It's, of course, not just Valencia. We've seen heat waves in Mali, we've seen droughts in Zambia. The climate crisis is happening all over the world, and it's disproportionately affecting the people who have done the least to cause it. Now, the 1.5 degree target looks increasingly in jeopardy. In fact, we're on target for 2.5 to 3 degrees. This is concerning. That's an understatement. Are you as concerned as I am that right now London is not on track to meet its own 2030 target?
As things stand now, we're not on target to meet them. I think all is not lost. And one of the reasons why I'm excited by the changing government is the speed at which they've got going. But I think your counsel is right in relation to the importance of getting on with this.
It's good to hear that you acknowledge this. Now, in terms of the government and the speed, there's two kind of big pathways in your pathway, or two big policies. One is retrofit, and one is around transport. Now, retrofit, I'm slightly concerned to say you're hopeful, because actually it seems to me a no-brainer that the money should be giving you this money. The government should be giving you this money. They're spending £22 billion on carbon capture and technology, and unproven technology. As Gareth Dennis put it in a recent book, it's like AM versus FM, actual machines versus effing magic. He doesn't quite say effing. We should be investing in the things that actually work, and that's retrofit, not in carbon capture. But your other passageway is around transport. Now, you've ruled out road user charging, but in a press release just a couple of years ago, you talked about the need for road user charging to be a critical part of your pathway. You said at the time that we're the doers and not the delayers. So how do you add up this vital part of your pathway that you've now ruled out, and how are you going to get the emissions to get back on track?
Well, I'm doing both the issues raised in the question. The first in relation to retrofit. So what we're lobbying the government for is a multi-year funding settlement for warm homes, social and warm homes local government based on population share or levels of fuel poverty. And that would enable us to scale up retrofit of domestic and non-domestic buildings. And my understanding from what's in the public domain, so not bridging confidences, is that work begins in 2026 in relation to a single settlement for London. In relation to the sources of climate emissions, I mean, basically, it's 2/3 buildings, 1/3 transport. We've made huge progress in the last 8 years in relation to both air pollution, but also climate emissions through transport. We have the largest clean air zone in the world, which has led to a reduction in carbon emissions as well as improvements in air quality. Our focus is to get all our buses electric by 2030. The current target is 2034. At the moment, we've got the largest zero-emission bus fleet in Europe. More than half of our taxis are now zero emission. We want to increase those. So, I'll be lobbying the government for support to make that transition. We're also spending a lot of time, effort and money in relation to rewilding our city. You'll know the impact biologically of planting in relation to carbon emissions as well. As long as I'm mayor, there will be no pay per mile. Clearly, if somebody else becomes the mayor after the next election, he or she's fit to do what they want to do.
I mean, that's worrying because that would presumably be 2028 unless you're about to make some big announcement, which would leave only 24 months to get to the net zero target. I think the other problem is the last time we had this conversation last month, we were talking about aviation expansion. I asked you to collaborate with me to write a letter to the government. You mocked that idea. And just a few days later in the budget on page 63, clear in black and white, was aviation expansion of City Airport. We've also got Louise Haigh talking about expanding airports all over the place. Isn't it time for your carbon pathway to actually have legal standing?
I don't understand the question.
So at the moment, they can just shrug their shoulders and ignore your carbon pathway. It's just essentially a fictional document that says these are the things we'd like to do. Would you like to see that have statutory policy and planning law?
So if the question is, do I want more power? Yes.
Good. Thank you very much, Chair.